So this way, if they get to here and they say, oh, hey, there's a dust storm here, they have the option and then they can go this back way. But I do not want to give them the directions. I do not want to tell them to pull over. I just want them to be alerted of the issues.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Obviously, if they're down here and they're driving in the dust zone range, that's completely different.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's about, let's say it's an hour drive from here. Let's say it's 2 hour drive from here to here, and the dust storm hits in 60 minutes. They will be alerted and they can keep an eye on it as they travel. So my object is to give them the information they need and then let them discover a back road, or do I pull over, or do I wait? Because the way it's set up now, it's more where it gives them alternative directions and so forth. I don't want it to compete with Google Maps or Apple Maps. This is kind of in addition to. So this is the information that Google Maps or Apple Maps will not give a user.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and then the same thing. So if I go here, I'm going to add the border wait times. So several people go to, let's go Flagstaff to, if they're going to go to Puerto Penasco, Mexico instead, then this has a border wait time. So, I also want to alert them as in the expected wait time. So, like here, it's no delay as of right now. Well, as of 9 o'clock this morning. Because as they're traveling, that could delay their trip. Sometimes this backs up traffic. It'll back up 10 miles, 20 miles all the way to here. And it could take you 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get through this.
Okay.
And this is where I've been stuck when my kids were young going to Mexico, and I had no water, no snacks, no nothing. It's desolate out here. The closest convenience store is all the way up here. So if I'm sitting in traffic here, if I have a 2 hour, if I still have an hour and a half wait, my alternative is to sit in line or to go all the way back and then start in traffic all over again. So if my user's driving and they say, hey, the border wait time is 2 hours, they have the option to stop in this town and pick up supplies or water or what have you.
Okay.
Um, and of course the road work as well, if that crosses their path. I'd like to use a different weather. I don't like their weather API at all. I don't like their weather alerts. Um, Border wait times. This isn't the most accurate, but it'll work for now
Okay.
until we find a different API.
Okay.
But I like the idea of the rest areas. So if they're driving from Phoenix to California, they could see where the rest stops are.
Okay.
So from here to here, there is nothing. It is just like it's in a movie, like it's the end of the earth. It's just miles upon miles of just dirt.
Okay.
Um, Another issue. Let's go to let's go Phoenix to Globe. And I picked this route because it's got two constructions on here. So if they're going from Phoenix, they'll run into these constructions. So of course they should be alerted to that, you know. And it doesn't have, well, it's up to you, however you want to do this easiest. If they click on it, all of this can come up, or we could just leave it as road work,
Yeah, I will find a
possible
way of
delay.
presenting a user that doesn't look like it's congested. Most of the users just want
Right,
a lazy approach whereby they can get the full picture just a click and
right.
within the shortest time
They just,
possible.
right. They just want to see long-term road construction westbound at milepost 31, just something to give them an effect, because if they go into mile markers, which of course I would like on the map, then they can go through and say, oh, hey, I'm at mile marker 166 or 220 or what have you.
Okay.
So when these constructions point to mile markers, or if there's crashes, let's see, pick out some of this crash. So if there's a crash, it might say mile marker number. Let's see. So here's one. I-10 near Fairway at mile post 131. Not many people know where 131 is. So that is the purpose of having mile markers, and here's 131 right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm following up.
Okay. So same thing, if they were coming from Deer Valley over here and they were traveling to Canyon Trails, their alerts would come up: this accident, and this accident.
So,
And then I think something like this is important, when it was last updated, just in case, it's 3 hours ago
yeah.
and they forgot to take it down.
Okay.
And actually, I-10 is good too. It gives the user an easy way. Oh, hey, I'm looking at the 101, which is the freeway here.
And
It's kind of identical.
okay. And will our app will it be detecting, or rather will it be monitoring users' location background? Because again, do you want it to be interrupting
Yes,
the user? Will it? Okay.
correct. So as the user comes down, it can alert them that, let's say if they start in Flagstaff and it's a 2-hour drive to get to this point, they'll get the alert at first saying, hey, these are the issues of potential delays along your trip. But then as they get closer, it should continuously update.
Okay.
So if this call here, this was at 2:20 p.m., they may not get down here to 3:20, and that crash may be removed. So as they get closer, they're not going to get an alert for that because it's already cleared.
Okay. And the alert notification system, does it have to be an alarm, or maybe a notification that just pops up, or can include uh,
So
some custom I'm thinking of some custom sound that has some details of the incident, so that when it's pushing the notification to the user, they can also have.
I agree with you. Something that separates it from everything else, and the user doesn't need to set their own sounds or anything like that. I agree with that.
So because I'm thinking, from the research that I was able to do yesterday, actually 79% of all mobile users, they have their phones in silent mode, so most of them don't have their notifications on. So I'm thinking, how can we able to maximize the remaining percentage to our advantage?
Well, for the time being, if we just leave it as is, they don't necessarily, they can choose to get the alerts or they cannot. And 99% of the people will turn it off of silent mode. Like I do that all the time. I keep my phone on silent unless
Okay.
I'm using directions.
Okay.
Because if we override the system settings, let's say their kids are sleeping or something like that, I think that maybe we could put a toggle or something that says, allow sounds like up, I don't know, up here or something.
Yeah.
Just food for thought.
Yeah, I'll think of something that works in a way that
Right.
doesn't cause distraction to other running services of the user.
Right. And about the, they should definitely get, a notification, a pop-up that comes up on their screen, because
Okay.
that'll show whether it's in silent mode or whether it's not.
Okay.
Um, I do love the idea about how detailed it was about the dust storm, because that's very important where, no, that's not it. Oh my gosh. Um,
Because I actually prepared this document with mind. I actually got to research about other existing apps that have similar functionalities. So I was trying
okay.
to find out one of the blind spots that they have, and that's why I included the user story so that you can be able to see the full picture from the user's perspective and also from the
Y-
user's
Yes, and
needs.
that's great with the user stories, because I tried to put myself in those shoes.
Yeah.
One, so here where it says the corridor of half a mile left or right, I'd like to move that to 1 mile, right or left. And the reason is that all of these freeways, no matter where you're at, all these squares are in 1 mile blocks.
Okay.
So what happens is let's say there's an accident here, it can potentially add traffic to the freeways because either it's closed or people are backing up. So if it scans and it says, hey, there's a car accident here at this intersection, which would be 1 mile, they would have an idea of saying, hey, there could be traffic on the freeway from people getting on and people getting off. Or even a half a mile is fine. Let's leave it at half a mile. I think you're right. I think a mile is going to be too far, because that would mean that people are. So right now, the half a mile would be here. They would get alert, and a mile would be here, and that would be foolish. Let's stick with 0.5 miles your way,
Okay.
because in this way it'll get 0.5 miles, 0.5 miles, and when it runs parallel, yeah, well, half a mile is fine. Um, I do like. Okay, so here we go. So they start their navigation. Their route is started, let's say, from Flagstaff.
Okay.
It takes an active trip mode. It will query all the hazards all the way. So whether it's 3 or 5, the scan corridor would be left or right. If they were traveling down ice, if there's dust or an incident at I-17 and Bell, they would get alert. But if there's a Picacho Peak, they would not get alert. However, if they are driving, and here's Picacho Peak, so I can kind of show you. Oh, here's a good example too I can use. Okay, so Picacho Peak is all the way down here. There's a mountain down here. It's called Picacho Peak.
Okay.
So if the user is traveling anywhere from north to south and crossing that, they should also get the alert, whether they're in Flagstaff or Phoenix, as long as it's on their route,
Okay.
they should get the alert. Because it'll give them fair warning, because may say, hey, you know what, let me pull off for a bite to eat while this dust storm comes through in the next 30 minutes. Because at 0.3 mile, oh, here's Picacho. Here you go. Here's Picacho Peak, the state park. If we only give them alerts at 1 mile, here, this is 5 miles between here and here. So if we're only giving them a short distance, that doesn't give them enough time to prepare.
That's for sure.
And the actual dust storms generally will come this whole area. You can kind of see how it's just there's nothing from the ocean all the way up to block any wind, and that's why we get dust storms.
Okay.
They'll start here and then they'll travel up into Phoenix, or predominantly Tucson doesn't get that many of them. But 95% of them, they'll be coming up from this way. The wind will cause the dust storm, and then it will affect the entire Phoenix metro area where you can't even see your hand in front of you.
Mhm.
So again, if they're traveling and they're here and they're still an hour and a half away from Picacho Peak, they should definitely get those dust storms because it's in their device saying, "Hey, I'm traveling through there." Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It actually makes sense now.
Okay, so here is another good one. Okay, so here is the city of Maricopa. So you can kind of 99% of the people will take this 347 and come down. They don't, this is extra mileage. So there's a lot of traffic here. So how do we alert them to traffic delays, or we just leave this because there's no incident? This is all because of a traffic light. So there may have been a car accident here 2 hours ago, but the backup, this is 80, this is what, 3 miles? So like here, I-10 right here at 170, there's no incident that's marked, but there's something going on here where there's a whole bunch of traffic. So
Is
I
there a way
think our
that we can
safest bet,
get to know the incidents happening at around that place?
nope, it's not an incident, it's not road work, it's not a closure, it's just they're using crowdsourcing.
Okay.
So where that will come into effect is like at the border for Mexico. Again, if you're waiting in line, what I used to do is look at Google Maps or Apple Maps and look at the red line to see how far it's backed up. So let's say if this was the entrance to Mexico, at least they know, oh, hey, they've got a 3 mile backup. That could be an hour, that could be 2 hours.
Okay.
And again, the user should be able to zoom in on this. We don't necessarily need to send them alert because there's no accident, there's nothing to trigger it.
Okay. So they can still
And
go
I don't want
do
to.
that route, or they're going to use the most economical way of going around. Can we have
So,
an algorithm that, but now that will add another complexity to the hub. There's no need.
well, my thought would be is if we do not even give them an alternative because let Google Maps and Apple Maps do that.
Yeah. Yeah, like that.
My goal is to advise you as the driver, hey, here are potential hazards or delays. I'm not going to do the work for you. You decide what you want to do, if you want to go around, because some of these, like here, it might take you around like this. If this road was closed to come all the way down here to go here, well, this is an extra 20 miles.
Okay.
It's probably faster to sit in this traffic than to come all the way down and across
Okay.
unnecessarily. Now, if there's a crash, again, that's something totally different. But my object is to present them with the hazards, let them make the decisions. Because like in that do you remember that Bloody Basin Road?
Yeah.
So Bloody Basin Road, and it does this all the time, and this is why I hate Waze and stuff. Bloody Basin Road is somewhere around. Here's Bumblebee. It's somewhere up in this area.
Okay.
And they're unmaintained roads. You can see there's like no civilization. This is just a creek. Let me see if I could go. There we go. So here's Bloody Basin Road. So I do not ever want to bring that up on my application because I know this is not a good road.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unmaintained, it goes into nowhere. There is an exit right here for it, So, but people don't understand when they get in the ways or try to go around, they're going into I mean, and these are all mountains too.
Okay.
So my object would be like, again, road closure here, put an alert. Again, if they know down here, they can stop for a break, they can stop it for a bite to eat, they don't need to sit in traffic.
Yeah.
And there's one way in to Flagstaff and one way out, essentially, and that's this freeway. So when there's accidents here, it closes down the entire freeway.
Mm-hmm.
Cameras would be nice, but we could do that in an update. But my main goals would be crashes, road work, closures, weather from a different API, border wait times, either from a different API or this one. Rest areas would be nice, mile markers. And let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. And let me take out. Oh. Okay, so see these blue lines? This one here, and it goes down this way. So these are washes, and this is what it gets flooded when it rains. So that's why my map, I would like to have some of the creeks. Let's see, a good way to do that is. Oh no, see, and this map doesn't have it unless I zoom in. Oh, it's got some of them. Like here's a wash, but it doesn't go all the way across. So see the washes, but there should be a couple more. Let me go into maps. Really? What the heck? I wanted to search. I didn't want a camera. I didn't want that. Where's my search button? See, this one doesn't have it either, but on my phone it did. I wonder if it's OpenStreetMaps. Okay, Google Maps. Where's the No, that doesn't have it. How about oh, I don't know why I did that. That's an ad. Okay. Oh, there you go. So see these blue dots? See these blue lines?
Yeah.
So this is washes. 99% of the time they are dry. But even if we get like an eighth of an inch of rain, just a little bit of rain, these will be so flooded it'll wash your car away.
Okay.
So And I use this town because it's a small town and you could see the washers go right through town. So if people are going into Mexico, this can flood out. These roads flood out. And pretty much you end up stuck on an island. Here's where I got caught is here's another one. Um, and another one. And literally you're stranded in the middle of nowhere. The one I got caught at was this one right here. And I don't, if I blow it out, see if we're going to be able to see them. You're not going to really see them, but those washes, it can rain all the way out here in Yuma, the test range. And here's the city of Yuma. And the water runs this way through the washes. So this will get flooded, and yet it will never rain over there because the way it rains so hard here, the water's just flowing. So Google Maps, weather maps, etc., weather applications, they're not going to send people alerts saying, "Hey, there's a flood over here because of the rain over here." Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So if I go into show bookmarks, oh, here we go. API, I had the national maps, they may have them as well. And again, I'm just throwing options out at you. I'm trying to let you make the decision of what maps we should use. I'm just trying to show you my thought of process. Okay, so I don't know what this ARC directory is from. I saved it for something.
Okay.
So let's go. Let's see what this is. Oh, this is for Yavapai County, I think. Okay. So that only listed one. So this just seems like historical stats because it's going from 1901 to 1905. But the real one, so I'll look into that. I did see one. So this is the flood gauges for Maricopa County. So this is where Phoenix is. So today, let me blow this up so you can understand. So these people got an inch of rain. They got 4/10 of an inch. If this 1 inch or 0.63 inch were to happen here, the everything would be flooded. So I'd like the people to be able to open up and say, "Oh, hey, you know what?" and take a look and see where they're at. The rain gauges. I don't care about the tables. I would just like it to kind of show exactly kind of like how it is. If we need to do the tables, that's fine because it'll kind of show like a history. So if we could do that, that would be great. You know what I'm saying? Like just click it exactly like that. And there is an API for this.
Okay.
The region, this is just Maricopa County. In that region, I'm trying to find, and I think I sent one that's got statewide. I know I have Pima County, which is down here, which is, okay, let me go back here. Okay, too many records. So this is Pima County. So here's Phoenix. Here's where we're at. That's Maricopa. This is Pima County down here. So if I go to my layers, no legend, should be layers on here somewhere. Because it says too many records, so I don't know what I queried. So these are for their rain gauges or something because it's got, here cubic feet per second in the rodeo wash, Lemon Creek. Um, what is this? See that I go through down rabbit holes like this, like looking for the API, and I'm like, oh, look at this, look at that. But why that's loading? So this is one of the APIs that we need to bring in the obviously I don't want the accident callback. It's the unknown injuries, with injury, fire. There's no active construction upcoming. Road closures would be nice. And there are APIs for this. This is just what I've saved so far. Told me to zoom in, but I don't see. Here we go. Oh, did you see all those blue lines? So these are all the washes down here.
Oh, I
Because
see.
everything, there's so many mountains.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why the water, and you can kind of see which way it flows. It kind of flows that way. This one flows this way. These flow this way. So if I zoom, let's go to. I lost it. Duet, Rico, Arbaca, cells. Oh, we're getting closer. Oh, there we are. To get my bearing straight. So you saw so you see the little size of the town, right?
Yeah.
This is where people live. But if I zoom in, it's all in the flood zone.
You
Because
said there's
here's
an
the town
API
right
for
here.
this. There's an API for
Correct.
this wash terrains.
Correct. I'm on their open data.
Okay.
And I'm not saying we need to use this map specifically because that's a lot of washes. I'm only concerned about,
The one that
obviously if
the one
any
that
of them
was
flood, they're going to
on
get
the
the
road.
alert.
Yeah.
But you could see this whole town and going down to Mexico, this is the road we take. It's right here.
Yeah.
And then there's washes that cross, that cross, that cross, that cross. And I've never seen fast moving water so fast before in my life. So now this is just for Pima County. I'm looking to find an API that has the entire state to make things easier.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So even when I was zooming in on Google Maps or Apple Maps, those are fine because I'm not concerned about these little washes out in the middle of nowhere. I'm concerned about the ones that cross the roads. Like here's another road that people take that go from Tucson to Flagstaff or to Rocky Point.
Okay.
And they're all in the flood zone. I don't know if you could it's kind of light, but there's the road right there, and it'll go all the way across. So that's Pima County. This page is for that same blue area. It's for this Pima County area. So any accidents or anything in that should be covered by that page right there.
Okay.
Um, and then what we can actually do perhaps is we can use, because I don't need specifically the city of Tucson for this app. That's going to go into the other app
Okay.
because I don't want people to be notified of an accident downtown because that's not the intention of the map, the application as of yet. It's not for daily commute driving. However, I would like to consider that in the next build. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
If people want to use it daily, well then yes, then we'll put the time and the effort into it. I don't know the market for every day because everybody knows the traffic patterns generally.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have this county and this is the metro area. Yavapai County, I had one. That's the OpenStreetMap. See how the OpenStreetMaps, they don't have all the washes, but they have a lot of them. They have the main important ones that end up crossing the roads. Okay, let me go into. Wait, where did my bookmark go? Oh my gosh. Let's go into. Okay, we can add the fire stations in later. Is this the national one? So I've got a couple APIs that are all set that we could just plug in when we're ready to put in the fire stations
Okay.
or hospitals. So this way, my thought again, if people are driving here in the middle of nowhere and they need help, and this is just an option, and that would, potentially be, whatever your thoughts of should we do it now or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can wait on that. Let me go back to partial viewer links to stop motion. Okay, so this is another website that's set up. Okay, he uses RDIO scanner. He also goes to Broadcastify, so he's doing the same thing that I'm doing with the scanner and the dongles. He took that freeway cameras and kind of made it this way so people can watch the cameras
This is
as
interesting,
well.
actually.
And in that 511, there is an API for that, which is right here.
Okay.
Cameras. Now, the difference is, and I don't know how he did it. I'm just going to zoom out. Go back to, we'll look at a camera. So this updates like every 5 seconds or every 10 seconds. The car is still sitting there. It's kind of slow.
Yeah.
Whatever he did, he's getting the same feed, but he's able to make it every 2 seconds or every 3 seconds. See how fast it's switching frames?
Yeah.
So 511 at 42 seconds,
I think
46 seconds.
I think it's just a piece of code that is using, to make it the latency of the code is just something that's just implemented in a smart way that doesn't cause lag on its application. So it's removing away the lag that is already present in the government side. And then
Okay.
I mean there's just a piece of code that's actually implementing. But again, it's data it's getting from the government side, but on its side it's been optimized.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind, so when we do the cameras, I'd much rather have something, that's do that. My thought be I first I was not going to include the cameras, but then I thought, well, if people are driving and there's an accident here, they can look to see the backup.
Yeah.
So here's some red and yellow. Let's see if I can get the closest camera. Okay, so there's nothing there. So if I zoom in, so here, this camera should be right at the red. We should see. So you can see it's not bumper to bumper traffic. It's moving. It's just a little bit slow
Yeah.
because I don't want to send the alert out or have the people, get out. Pose. Of course, that doesn't. Okay, so
Doesn't want to
here's
close.
another one. Here's deep red again. Traffic's building up here a little bit. So let's go to this end of it where it's yellow. And it's opening up. So it's just a little bit of congestion.
Yeah.
Again, the cameras could be optional for it could be in the initial build, or we can add that into a later build. It's up to you. My thought is that if we're using some of the APIs from this already, such as the crashes, the roadwork closures, rest areas, it's up to you if you want to use the mile markers from this one, or if we find an OpenStreet map. If you have an OpenStreet map or another map, they may have rest areas and mile markers in there already.
I think I'm going to think something through, and then I'll let you know the one that we can proceed with.
Right. And then if it's easier, we can always start off with the application, building it with these APIs, and then we can always go back and find a different border wait time or different rest areas. However, my thought was that if there's a map that we're going to use that has these embedded in them, then we don't need to do the extra work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. My thought is on the everyday commute. If I am traveling from here to here every day, I don't necessarily need to use my application because I could just open it up and look myself. I don't need the notifications for daily commute.
Okay.
However, if they want to put in their beginning and start, of course they'd have to put in a finalized address, not just the city. Because if you just put Phoenix, it's still going to give you all alerts, even though you're not going to that part of Phoenix. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you're scanning ahead of their route. Because if we just put in Phoenix, it's going to send anything in Phoenix to them, even though they're Phoenix, even though let's say their destination here, it's still considered Phoenix. Downtown is 35 miles away. So they should not get any alerts in between here. It's only between the input address.
Okay.
We go back to, oh my gosh, there we go. Pages. Yes, definitely don't want the false positives. Buffer radio, filter out query. The quarter, I'm assuming width is left to right. Okay. So I like this, how it says reduce speed, dust storm ahead. I'd like this just to keep it as dust storm because they're very picky on what's a haboob and what's a dust storm. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And instead of put generates, dust storm forming, where did I see? This, I'm assuming, is all running in the background. It's not going to tell them there's a 70% probability or anything, correct?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just running on the back end.
That system works. It's going to be running in the background.
Okay. And then the geofencing. So to milepost 94, trigger, Marana. So I don't like saying reduce speeds to 45. If we could put warning, reduce speed, but I don't want to tell them,
Yeah, actually, reduce
or
speed makes
warning dust
sense.
storm alert,
Yeah, reduce speed actually just makes sense because
or reduce speed, reduce speed recommended, or something, because I don't want to
reduce
be the one
recommended
telling them what to do.
just favorable speed something, but reduce speed
Right.
is just okay.
Right. Obviously, if they're in the middle of it, emergency, pull aside immediately. Again, something like that. I like, but it's going to be used few and far in between. So it's optional if you want to put that in or not.
Yeah.
My object is to give them as much warning as possible.
Yeah.
Do that formation detected 20 minutes away. So we could redo, look to reduce speed or something like that, or
Yeah.
consider reducing speed. Something. Okay, emergency pull aside now. I like this idea, but I don't think that it should be in the alert.
Yeah.
So what happened in Arizona? People are stupid when they drive. They pull over, they keep their lights on. That's how the accidents happen.
Yeah.
People don't understand.
Yeah.
I do not think that we need to have set alerts to where it says non-dismissible. If we want to do that, if they're in the middle of a storm or a heavy thunderstorm, that's completely different.
Okay.
But if they're just driving and they have 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive until they get to the storm, then no, we don't need it in that early. If they're in the thick of it, well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do not want to provide an alternative. That's what Google Maps and Apple Maps are for.
Yeah.
We
that's
could
on
put
the
it in
weather.
there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Monsoon day, close to 70-mile lanes. Okay. Again, we would take out this Google suggests and Bloody Basin Road. We would just say, you know what? Route delayed due to construction on I-17 or traffic accident, whatever that alert says.
Yeah.
Yes, I like this. And this is exactly where that application, what 3 words comes in.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have anything, at least they know they can send out their exact location.
Yeah.
This is all running in the background. Okay. I'm not really concerned about that.
That is on the. That one's on the. Can you just go back? That is on the road maintenance status.
Correct. So where Bloody Basin Road is, it's not a city.
Okay.
This would be my primary API for state roads, but then each county has their own. Where did I go? I don't want any user feedback because then it creates a liability if I put it out there and let's say somebody says, oh, it's clear when it's really not. Then it's going to tell other people, oh, it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay, high wind, EG300, try later, safe and clean. Again, we would not give them an alternate route. Alert, reduce speed. If visibility drops, we can just leave. Alternate routes maintained by ADOT, maintained by county, which will have a couple others under maintenance. But it really opened my eyes to see exactly what we can do with this.
Yeah.
In a future update, I'd like to do a lot more, maybe alternative routes and this and that. But I think that that's going to take too long and too big for right now.
Yeah.
So the barricades, it would only be what is coming from the APIs. I would not go in there to manually add. And here it said monitor fire channels or something like that.
Okay.
Um, Here, I don't want anything user reported.
Yeah.
I just want the facts.
Yeah. Anything that can actually interrupt on the integrity of the notification, I mean the algorithm of the system, then it becomes a liability for us. So we have to do away with everything that can conflict, or that gives
Correct.
the user control to manipulate other users on the same system.
Right. So something like this, zero visibility, how do we know for sure if our API is absolutely correct? We don't.
Yeah.
So I would much rather say dust storm, expect low visibility, less than 50 feet or something like that. Is where we're giving them the information. We're not telling them. We're giving them potentials.
Yeah.
Then at a later date, we can add another page for like where we can put in for dust storms, pull over to the right, for snow, make sure you have chains, water, if we want to do that.
Yeah.
But this here, I do not want it to confirm their safety, because if they do, then I'm going to be liable for not calling 911 because I know that they're not safe.
Yeah. I'll remove that one from the issues about confirming safety and so on.
The inner city should just be, the user would just put the exact address from point A to point B, the same thing.
Yeah.
So what we're doing with our map, and I read it in here before, is Google and Apple Maps do not take into consideration the current accidents, the road closures, the weather, and all these other issues.
Okay. That one is true. Yeah.
So that's where I'm not trying to compete with them with turn by turn. I'm just saying, hey, along your route, look out. Be safe. All right, and then if we went to, what was I just going to do? It was for again, whatever weather we decide to use, that'll be dependent on their GPS location as well as along their trip. So and it happens completely all the time, it can rain, it can downpour. Well, what is that? Downpour over here, and they can get 2 inches of rain, and it'll be sunny as can be on this side of town.
Okay.
And then, of course, the toggle for construction would be nice. So if people want to travel in this, in the city. Um, then- so see, I have to find something. See, they had the counties. And we're trying to find like a national database.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because here's the city of Flagstaff. Because otherwise, we're going to be doing 20 different APIs. Let's see what this does. So see, they have all theirs, and if we have to do it separate, we have to do it separate. But this is their rain gauges. So obviously, I would like this with Maricopa, with all the other counties. My goal is to get all the information as much as possible.
Okay.
And then that other one is Yavapai County, and then I think it was this one. Yeah. So then this way I would have these numbers all over the place. The place we were just looking at was in this area. So I need to get one for here, for here. Those are the most popular regions. But if I can find a statewide, that would be great. And I know sometimes you stumble across resources that I don't.
Yeah.
So again, it's raining today. I want to open up, and here we go. Just to show you. So I live about here. So right now the gauges right here, the ones closest to me, there's zero rain. But if I go up north just a little bit, I could see. And then of course with the lightning strikes as well. I don't know if Open API has one for lightning strikes. This is one that I just found. Again, we're not having lightning today, but when we get storms, I've never seen so much lightning before in my life.
Today.
It'll so we need to look for that as well.
Okay.
So does that help clear it up so we don't go too far into off the beaten path for now? I definitely like what you found, but I just think that for the initial application to launch, I think that it's a little excessive.
Okay. No problem. I just needed a
Does
picture.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I needed a picture because without actually me getting to draft this, then I would have proceeded with developing the application, but now without the whole picture at hand. So
Right.
I
So if
really
and when they open up the application, they'll see the map and they'll see their GPS on the map,
yeah
and then they could see any weather or any. They can view everything. They're just not going to get the alerts or the turn by or the directions along their route because they're
yeah
not putting in a route.
yeah
However, they could still look and say, "Oh, it's raining. The rain is moving this way,"
yeah
or and so forth. And then, of course, with their GPS location, if they get a weather alert or flood alert or anything, of course, it's going to notify them by their GPS location, whether they're traveling or not.
okay.
I don't think that. um, Oh, and of course, we got to do the one for wildfires. So here's a dashboard. this is just, one of several. So I do want to have one for wildfires. I will provide that exact API for you,
Okay.
because again, I'm more concerned about, some are overkill, some are not. Like here, this was discovered 12/23. But all it's going to do is it's just going to post like that. So when we venture off into other areas, here's an API for the city of San Diego where all their fires are and stuff like that. So we could easily duplicate our application and put it for other areas.
Okay.
Mobile rainfall. What's one of these save tabs? Let's see what this one is. And I know some of these charge and stuff like that. I'm trying to stay away from that initially. Okay, so this is the one where we can put all the fire stations. Okay, that's the national map. If we want to use that. And then this was an API for work zones. But I think we're okay with the one from Arizona for now, unless you want to do it one time. And if Arizona is included, then we might be able to just pull from this API so it's easier to expand. Because what I'd like to do is get it to where if people put if they put that they're going into Los Angeles, for example, I'd like to tie in and give them APIs for the stretch of the main freeways, which was in like one of that other ones I showed you, the San Diego one. Because a lot of people travel back and forth, and this is all desolate area. Again, you can see there's not a soul in sight. This is all dead. From here, well, actually here, there's little cities here, but this is just wide open space. The main spaces. Oh my god, I don't want to clear all. I want to get out. Turn it off. Turn it off. So my ultimate would be to capture Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Diego. And of course to Mexico here, because that's where most people travel to. So for example, if I go to CHP API, let's go San Diego. So like on GitHub, there's a ton of other traffic alerts and this and that, but they have an API that has. So they send out alerts, they send out traffic. Come on, let's see. CHP active incidents. Here we go. So we can choose down. Let's go down to. Let's just do Los Angeles for now. We do custom reasons, state alert, file resources. I leave everything. So these are all traffic collisions, hit and run. But a lot of these aren't going to be applicable because where I'm mostly concerned about is the main freeways. Cal Trans API. Oh, look at that. We might even be able to get what's birdside weather. Um, so here's another one that, I don't know if this would be applicable to us or if we can find, there's stuff out there. It's there. I just, stumble across it. So, for example, if I show here, let me see if California has. Oh my God. Here we go. Let's see. I think this is the one that I wanted. Okay, here we go. So if we go to Southern California, this is what I was looking for. So, for example, if people are traveling from Phoenix to Disneyland, people love to go to Disneyland. Disneyland's over here in here, down here somewhere. So it would, again, give them issues on the freeways along their route. And then let's say if we were to do this, they should not receive these alerts until they're 3 hours away or a set, whether it's miles or time. So for example, when they cross over or get ready here to cross into California, so this is Arizona here, this is California, then it would update them appropriately. But I don't think that they need this information while they're still 6 hours away. From the border, it's about 3 hours from here to here. Does that make sense? Oh, are you still here? Oh, oh, there you are. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Did you
Okay,
lose me through
perfect.
along the way?
So, did you hear what I was saying about like Disneyland, like coming out over here into California,
Yeah, I
or if
think I
people are going to San Diego? I would like to use the APIs because it would alert them along their trip.
yeah, I got that one. Oh,
And then I'll get the one for Las Vegas because Las Vegas has one too. And I'm only looking for that little region. Um, okay, so this is officially from the state. So it's based on the same thing as Arizona 511. It's the same exact. So let's see if I go Phoenix to Las Vegas. Oh my gosh. So it won't give me anything from Arizona. However, it gives me incidents and cameras to Las Vegas. And I have the same options: camera, message signs, weather stations, rest areas. They have welcome centers, road conditions, traffic speeds. So I'm only looking to capture up to Las Vegas. Does that make sense?
It does.
So if we stay with this 511, it should all relatively be easier for you. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you to use it whatsoever. I'm just trying to give you just like same thing with my app. I'm trying to give you the information. You make the best decisions. And going from, so this is how we get to Vegas.
Okay.
Generally is this 93. And again, it's desolate. There's nothing there. That goes into Kingman. So most people will go from Phoenix, this whole general area will go up this one road, 93. And like there's like nothing out here until you get to Kingman, which is then you get into a little civilization. Not a whole heck of a lot, but um so I would do, Las Vegas, San Diego, grab Arizona, and Las Vegas to start.
Okay.
Of course, going into Rocky Point as well, but Rocky Point is covered under AZ 511. So what they did is, um, they used to not cover it, but there's so many Americans that go into Mexico now. They've
Yeah.
generally been covering this road. Now, the other thing that I think would be great, however, I don't know if it's doable or not. Where is it? Oh my gosh, where is it? Miles away. Okay. Oh, and this would be another API. This has all of the. It would be just those four, the ones that with Arizona. So what this does is it brings in information from fires. 1224, it was a smoke check at mile marker 286. False alarm, smoke check, smoke check. But I don't need, the majority of these. So I'll continue working on that, which wildfire map I want to use. But there was this other one. It was in Mexico. Gosh, they um so Mexico has what's called the Green Angels. So they are a volunteer agency, and all they do is travel the roads for people who are broken down, who have a flat tire, who need help. They do towing, mechanical assistance, first aid, accidents. So when people are in Mexico, they do have an application. I am currently digging for like an API or something of how to connect with them. So if the people are in Mexico, they have to dial 078, which is different than how you dial in the US. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, so I'll go ahead to look into that as well. So people, if they break down in Mexico, they don't have to, feel like they're gonna get robbed by all the cartels and stuff.
Okay.
And then that what's 3 word app, if they were to call 911 in Mexico, they would go to a Mexico dispatch center and they're going to ask, "Where are you?" And people are going to be like, "I have no idea. I'm between the United States and the ocean somewhere. It's, 100 miles." So, what 3 words? They'd be able to give them their exact 3 words and they will be able to find their location. All right. So, does that give you a little bit more of an understanding and kind of so you don't overkill the first time around?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that was quite very helpful. So I'm going to go through the notes. I've
Because
been taking notes the entire time. So I'm going to rethink the entire thing and come up with something again that reflects whatever that we're discussing on the entire time.
right, because at this stage, I'm just thinking about again alerting people to the danger. Then in a rebuild or a new build, we can go ahead to put in more detailed, like you were doing. Because I would definitely love to integrate more of the AI into it, like you did here.
Yeah.
And then tell them, hey, whether it's consider an alternate route or give them an alternate route.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm cautious on doing that for the first release to make sure everything works properly.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will take, some time off of developing because we're not going so far deep into it this time around.
Yeah.
Because I figure we can always go back, we can always add, we can always make changes, we can always delete, but we
Yeah.
need something to work with. And as you see going through the scanner apps with SDR Trunk and RDIO scanner and ProScan, as you and I go through things, we learn, we start to fiddle with things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I expect to do the same thing with this app once we get a base app and then, just continual.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then once we get it established, I got to create again, I'm going to work on the name. The I'm going to go to these agencies, to the cities, write them an email and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is my application. I would like a direct API to your fire department services or to your construction or whatever. But I
Yeah.
need to have a professional name. I need to be professional and I need to have a base application before I can go to them.
Yeah. Yeah. That one is for
'Cause
sure.
show that, hey, my app is geared towards safety. It's to keep your responder safe, it's to keep people away from major incidents. And, I gave you that website for pulsepoint.org. And every agency in Arizona that they dispatch for, those are agencies I want to go to as well.
Okay.
But I don't want to scrape the information because that's totally, that's a lot of work for that they can turn it off any single time.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go and get the direct APIs.
Yeah. Do they charge for these APIs?
Most of them don't charge. Most of them are all free. You just have to find them.
Okay. Okay.
As of right now, I'm not paying. Every API I'm giving you is open data. My goal would be to set everything up with open data. And then if we need to pay for an API, if we need to do things, we have a game plan that we work up to. Because I don't want to go paying for all these APIs and ARC, GIS upfront. Because let's say if I end up spending $20,000, well, it's going to take a year or two for me to make that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. That's fair, actually.
And then with your expertise, with the AI, with everything, and your learning, and with the stories and everything, I never even thought of. I love the ideas of the dust storms. Of what dust storm is building, it's expected in X amount of minutes. I love that because, and the same thing with the rainstorms.
Yeah.
Because again, no other app does that.
Yeah, for sure. That was actually my spinning point because I realized most of these apps don't really care about that. It's not part of their problem. So I thought, yeah, this thing has been troubling people for so long, and yet no one is actually caring anything about it. So I thought that would be our selling point. But now you came in with a very different picture of, let's get it simple as much as possible, and then when you get into the market, then we can be able to implement all other these features that I'm thinking of.
Right. And with the exception of the what three words, I would definitely like that in it to begin with.
Yeah.
My thought about that is again, if they're driving, if they get into a car accident, if they drive, when they dial nine, and I'd have to look into the API. I don't know if there's a way to automatically dial 911 or not. I didn't read into the API all that much. But if they were flooded or they went on that bloody basin road, they would be able to tap one button. It would call 911 and give them those what three-word location,
Yeah.
the location. So that's why I was saying yesterday, if we have a base map, then we can, go and go. Because I just don't know what maps show. I don't want that map with all of the washes. That they were all blue.
Yeah.
But the major ones, of course, is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And then there's with the name, I don't like the name, I don't know. I'm trying to stick with a name that's more geared towards what we're trying to do.
So we still need to figure
You
out,
know,
or we still need to think about a better name or something.
correct. And that's what I'm working on, today and been tossing and turning last night. I woke up, I finally fell asleep around 5:30 this morning.
Okay.
Then woke up like every half hour. My mind was just going with names and going over that list because I was reading it last night.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to kind of something Arizona related, but I also want, if we do this one with just the state of Arizona, we'll have two options.
Yeah.
We can either build another national application using the same exact link. So this is what I also want you to think about as well, that when we go to these national APIs, or perhaps you could do this simultaneously,
Yeah.
have application number one and application number two. One is for Arizona, one is for national.
Yeah.
The APIs you could put into both of them at the same time, and then we could just, we could take that national one and say, hey, do we want to gear that towards California or do we want to do a full nationwide? Because you have all the wildfire APIs, you'll have all the 511 APIs. We just have to find, you know, the best way. And to hopefully, cut and copy and paste your code from one app to the other
Yeah.
rather than duplicate the work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So this way, if you have two builds going, and the first Arizona one, if we say, you know what, let's hold off on California for right now, let's just do Arizona. But you already had the APIs that we can easily add in. We don't need to go back and reinvent the wheel and find them again.
Yeah.
And again, that's just food for thought. That's just, I'm not trying to guide you in any way. You're the professional. I am not when it comes to this.
Yeah, that's
Because I really, really, really think that this application, I would like to do the entire state of California because again, they have mountains, they have the same thing as we do.
yeah.
But I think that this concept, if we get it right, you and I could be living like kings.
Should be easy to implement with other states when you get it right on Arizona because the structure is the same, architecture is the same, the idea is the same, logic is the same. The only thing that is changing is the geographical location of the application, or I mean, of the intended user base.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then with the one with Arizona, I would like to attempt to include the major freeways
Yeah.
to San Diego, to Southern California, just one or two APIs. I don't want to go full fledged into that because that's not the intention. The intention for that is because people go to Disneyland all the time
Yeah.
or go to California all the time. My app doesn't just end at the border, it ends at their destination. So it's worth them subscribing. Because
Yeah.
if they say, oh, I travel to California 5 times a week or 5 times a year,
Yeah.
is it worth them subscribing? Probably not. And then if you feel that it's easier, like for California or for outside or for any of them, if you would rather the user, instead of putting in a street address, that they just put in a city, that would be fine too. But my concern is what happens if the city is so big? I'm going to Phoenix. Well, Phoenix is 500 square miles
Such a big
or
city.
kilometers.
Yeah.
Right. So if I just put Phoenix in, it doesn't know where to give me the alerts. It
Yeah.
doesn't know where to send me. So that's why I thought that the exact address might be better for our application.
Yeah.
Or give the user either or, and then we could just put like a disclaimer on there that if they choose the city, alerts may not be, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh you may receive extra alerts may not be as uh pinpoint to their location, or they may get extra alerts because it's going to look at accidents 10 miles ahead of their destination. Or does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Or if they get into Phoenix, well, if we put Phoenix in, it's going to default to downtown Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going from one end of the state to the other, it's going to screw me up. I'm going to miss that whole other half of Phoenix, or I'm going to get all those extra alerts in Phoenix that I do not need.
Yeah.
I am open up for any other suggestions that you have, any edits on what I'm saying does not have to be done. I'm just trying to explain my mind and my thought process.
So I was thinking I'll get to go through the notes that you have discussed, and then I'm going to compare what I had already put in my mind, and then from there you're going to come up with something solid, something that get closely to whatever that we have discussed, and then quickly.
Right. And I definitely want what's in your mind as well, because you bring up excellent points that I'd never even thought about. Like the difference in, the dust storm is forming, it's expected to form in the next hour,
Yeah.
and so forth. That is awesome. Or, like I hate getting the alerts that say rain expected in 15 minutes at your location.
Yeah.
I don't want that. What I want is major storm is going to affect your location.
Yeah.
you
Just
know
have the user just
but
have we can have actually I like the idea of providing the user awareness, I mean just creating the awareness but not giving the full, I mean, not just going into the complexity that can, redirect the user into a different direction. So you're trying to be 100% concentrated on the app being a context awareness thing, other than, it having to be a guidance tool or something. Like, for example, let's say we're not trying to get distracted from, creating the awareness to the user and then now shifting back the concentration to explaining or rather, guiding the user on what to do. We do not want to go to that direction because again, there are existing frameworks and of course existing apps that do that. So for us, it's just,
Correct.
accumulating all these services in a central location that can be able to be used by the user even when they are, some of most of the users, if not all, they are all ignorant in a way, so that the app in a way kind of an accountability tool or rather something that, that keeps all of them in check in a way that, you
Right.
get yourself into this is your 100%, responsibility, because our app gave you whatever that you needed to know, or whatever that you needed to be aware of for whatever
That's
shit
e-
that you got
excellent way
into.
of putting it.
Yeah.
Excellent way of putting it. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. My job is to give them all the information.
Yeah.
What I think might be the best option and resort to get around it may
Yeah.
not be your best option.
Yeah.
You may have 4 kids. I may have no kids.
Yeah.
You may have a 4x4 pickup truck. I may have a bicycle,
Yeah.
or a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's not a one fit situation.
Yeah.
Now, as we design this, I would not mind, giving them more controls of like, hey, I want to receive all weather alerts,
Yeah.
or do I only want severe weather alerts?
Yeah.
Because again, me personally, I would just want to use my app because it's got everything in it rather than 12 other like WeatherBug, Weather Channel, because they're going to sell my data. It's only one thing,
Yeah.
but we use it as a resource. So like I'll use like Fox Weather app. I really love Fox Weather app.
Yeah.
Uh when you zoom in on a storm,
Yeah.
there's a button on there that you can look at the cell and
Yeah.
make it 3D.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
I've seen other similar options, but I've never been able to interact with exactly the one that you're talking about. But I've had some similar
Yeah, I
experiences with other apps that you can actually create 3Ds of the actual experience on the particular hazard that is happening.
yeah, and this is just the one that I saw. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to download. I just want to see it
Okay.
because I wanted to show you. Here we go.
Oh,
So when you look at the map, you normally see green or yellow, right? It's like single level.
okay.
So this has it and it shows the height. So the stronger the storm, this is a huge storm because it's got red. If
Yeah.
you only see yellow, it's not so big. And then it'll get taller on the intensity.
Yeah.
So you can download this on your phone, on your device, and look at it yourself. I would love to have something like that in our weather portion.
Okay.
So this way, and what I do, and a ton of other people do, but let's go back over to where are you? Don't want that one. Don't want that one. This one. Let's go to, here we go, 511. Okay, so here's their 3 weather APIs. But I want to see the green, the squares, this is for like, I mean, I guess this isn't a bad idea either. It gives people can look to see what the weather is going to be for the 4 or 5 days that they're going to be there. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But my style is to go to, I don't know if this is the best one, but this was one of the first ones that I subscribed to like 20 years ago. Okay. So the map is all just it's all 2 dimensional. So
Okay.
here it's raining a little heavy because it's yellow. But with that Fox app, you can touch these clouds and it'll turn into like a 3D.
Okay.
And you could see the height of it, so you could see the intensity. And then when we go back to this one, to have so these storms, this one would probably be a little taller, might have some yellow in it. These should only be green because they're little, but you can actually see how strong the storm is. You're not looking at just the rainfall.
Okay.
Because as you know, with storms, they can build up and have all this energy and have so much lightning, and they can explode and just deluge at any given time.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the thought for now. So the biggest things are the AZ511. We don't. I don't want to do road closures or anything from here. Let's do. Why? Really? Okay, so this traffic accident is, I don't even know where this is, but it's on an Indian reservation. So let's see if I click on this. Oh, I thought it would give me a map. Oh, it does give me a map. So, like, I don't want this incident because it's in the city. It's got nothing to do with travel.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are going to go down into this little neighborhood where people live?
Yeah. Actually, like what I was thinking before on the user stories. One of the main reasons why users actually get to mute this notification is the notification actually giving them irrelevant, alerts that are actually not actually close to. I mean, they're not actually close to related to any of their need at the moment. So most of them get to bump them or even spam them if I will use the right word. So if our app is going to be really highly specific to the first the route that the user is going to, and of course highly relevant to the activities of the user in terms of rather in the context of the route that is going to take. So if a user decides, well, today I'm going to travel from route A, I mean from point A to point B, then the app is actually, we can actually have a very quite aggressive, algorithm or even a policy that only shows or only pushes the notification to the user that are highly relevant to that specific route, because we do not want to be in a position whereby, or even in a situation whereby, let's say if there's a route between let's say there's a route between let's say the user is moving from point A to point B, and then before point A there's a route, there's a point, let's call it point C. So we do not want to be showing the user alerts of point C because it's not actually get, I mean, he's not at that particular point of time interested to that route of point C to point A. So if we show the user the alerts or even the notifications of route C to A, then it will be highly irrelevant to the user, and it will actually make the user get something we call notification fatigue, causing or even forcing the user to mute the application. Because you see, at the end of the day, if the user gets to mute our application, then they actually now get to disable everything. Because again, if the user just decides to
Correct.
disable the
And I'm
application,
trying to avoid that because
yeah,
I don't want to send out too much. But if they're going from Phoenix, so Flagstaff to here, let's do this just to give you.
yeah,
Let's go Flagstaff. And then I am going to go to, let's try Desert Ridge. Okay, so Desert Ridge is actually part of Phoenix. This is, however, so up here, this is still all Phoenix. But if I put Phoenix into the map, it's going to take me down here. So if this user is going from Flagstaff to here, they should only get the alerts related to this area.
Yeah.
If there's a crash or an incident or a dust storm down here, they should not get alerts because they're not going anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Now, if they have the application turned off and not using it and just driving around in this area and a dust storm hits, yes, absolutely, they should get that notification. Doesn't matter where they are in this region.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, it does.
Same thing here. I'm living here. I'm in my house. If we're going to get hit with major storms, yes, I should be notified. If there's a car accident here on the 101, no, I don't need to be notified because I'm not driving any place. I did not input my destination.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be worthwhile to have a drop down box like this. So if I put, it gives a whole bunch of stuff. Because most people will generally probably go here, Disneyland.
This is the famous. What do you call it?
So Disneyland
The
has
famous film show.
has a specific address.
Okay.
So this way, so now the system knows, oh, hey, here's Disneyland. I'm not going to give you any alerts down here because you're not traveling on these freeways. This freeway could be burning down.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because that's not where your destination is. If I'm in Disneyland and there's weather alert or something like this, yes, I should be notified. If there's an accident right here, no, even though I'm right next to it because I'm not driving.
Yeah.
Now, we can consider to have a toggle to say all alerts or something like that, and we can do that at a later time. Because some people are just buffs. Like, if it's raining, like storms, I'll sit here at the computer and so will thousands of other people and just watch the radar, watch the storms, listen to the scanner, and do everything on.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
So I want a twofold, one specifically for driving, but one specifically for no matter where I'm at, following my GPS. And you mentioned in there about GPS versus using Wi-Fi and triangulation. Of course, whatever is more appropriate as well as cost. I do understand the battery of the device will go down the more and more people use it, but 90% of the people, if not more, that are going to be inserting an address and use it for driving, they're going to have their device plugged into their car charging.
Yeah.
Because if I'm understanding what you wrote in the scenarios yesterday, is that obviously the more it runs, the more their battery drains.
Yeah.
But which is fine for driving because again, they have a way to charge their phone. But if I'm at home, do I need my GPS? No, I could probably use the Wi-Fi and hit off any tower.
Yeah.
If I understand that correctly, I don't necessarily have to use my GPS if I do not put in a destination.
You see, even if you're
Would that be correct?
the issues of the battery, I brought them up because you see some of the processes they have running.
I'm sorry, I could barely hear you.
Sorry for that. I'm saying, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm saying I was bringing in the issue of the battery because you see some of the services or some of the processes of the app will be running in background 24/7, and so it may drain up the battery because it will be using I will make them optimized, but they will at some point be using the resources of the phone or the device that's been opened from. So whether it's running on the GPS or maybe it's on the Wi-Fi, it still have to run the processes on background, and so it'll have to consume not so much, but a little bit of the
Right, but that
device
should be
system.
the same amount of power it draws if I have the Weather Channel app.
Yeah.
And they're following me,
Yeah,
so it shouldn't be all that much. Where I can see it being a lot of power is if, again, my destination and, if I'm driving and I don't have it plugged in because it's pinging my location. I think you said every 5 seconds, but that's another thought. Does it have to be every 5 seconds if I'm driving, or can it be every 30 or every 60 seconds? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, that's an option for you to take into consideration, because if we're pinging their GPS location every 60 seconds or every 2 minutes as compared to every 5 seconds, it's really not going to make a difference on their map. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, just food for thought. I'm just in the back of my mind. Okay, so if we could get the 511 in there, the Maricopa County rain gauges. Do you want me to give you a list of the one from 511, or do you just want to do it by yourself of kind of what we're looking at and put it in? Because I don't know if you want to use this mile marker, or if you want to use, if we're using OpenStreetMaps, for example, they may have mile markers already in there. They may
Yeah.
have rest stops in there. They may have border wait times. I don't know what's available for the maps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to play around with all of them, and then from there we're going to make a decision, because just changing them, it's not a big deal of me. So I'm just going to play
Okay.
around with them and see the one that
Right.
best suits our interest, and of course it's been reliable.
Right. Because for the weather, the alerts and everything, they should come from the National Weather Service. And, so this way it's official. I'm not making up information. I'm not pulling shit out of my ass, as I like to say.
Yeah.
People can say, oh, hey, where'd you get this? It came directly from the National Weather Service. It's not me.
Yeah.
It's official. It's not what I saw on TV. It's not what a friend told me. And then just so you know why another reason why I'm so big up on the washes. Let's see, can I see it here? You can kind of see it. So, Indian Bay. Okay, so you can see, so see all this green belt?
Yeah.
This is all runoffs. So don't be fooled by the maps in Arizona. These look like green and that they're grass, but they're actually washes. So every time it rains, these will overflow. People's homes will overflow.
Oh.
Um, People will try to cross the road here because they think, oh, it's only inches. So what the city did is they went out and on these low points, they put poles up to say 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot, so people can see how deep the water is.
Yeah.
And it runs all the way up, all this green. And if we find a map that's got the little blue rivers and stuff in the washes, they'll all lead into it. And then they'll come into this. And down here, I used to live down here, this gets flooded like you wouldn't believe. So the police department and stuff, they'll go out and they'll put cones out or sometimes like that. But I don't know necessarily all the time where to put it. So that's where the GPS location will come up and say, hey, flooding is in your area, look out. Because you can see this one can wipe out a ton of people, just this wash alone. And these are always dry unless it rains. And I mean like rain, a half an inch or a quarter of an inch or an inch. An inch of rain, we'd be flooded. It is so bad because the ground is so hard and nothing soaks up. It's like concrete. And then you can kind of see where here is the other one. This is the Hayden wash. So it'll flow, the water will flow off from the blue into here. And this is why this is all green, because it's specifically to capture the flood waters before eventually running into the Salt River that is not a river because it's so dry we don't get rain. It's just bare. Okay, any questions, any thoughts?
Not really. I think we have exhausted
Okay.
so much. Close to 2 hours right now, actually.
Right. And then the other thing that, again, this is totally optional, whether it's down the line, whatever, this offers three different routes. So if we get to that point where we may want to do that, we could always do something like that.
Yeah.
Or we can create something that might have less safety issues. So let's say if I mean, it's kind of hard because there's like one way in, one way out. Um, so for example, if it was, okay, so to go down the rock to Mexico, most people from Phoenix will come this way and then come down this little side road, which always gets flooded, and then come down this way. So if this road is closed, Route 2 might be come down this way, but at that point, we don't want to give them directions yet. So I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize. I just don't want this to be considered turn by turn directions. Now, I initially envisioned when they open up the map and they get to this point and they put their destination in and they have their alerts, then they can hit a button, the button would come up or something that do you want to open up in Google Maps or Apple Maps?
Yeah, actually, you can actually give them the option to choose, just like it happens on Bolt and other Uber. I mean,
Because this way their turn by turn directions that they're actually following are from Google or Apple or their native application
yeah,
versus my application. My application is used strictly for notifications to know where you are.
yeah,
But if I'm going to Disneyland and I want turn by turn directions, hit a button, Apple Maps would automatically come up, the route would come up, but of course it's not going to have any of the alerts because that's in our app. But it'll give them turn by turn directions. Just food for thought. Or the other option is that they open up Google Maps or Apple Maps themselves. But I just kind of thought that it would be easier to put in the destination in one place rather than two different applications. Because I need to have a disclaimer or a pop up that says this app is not intended for turn by turn directions. Because that's Google's job and Apple's job. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay. Just trying to give you ideas before you start getting head deep into it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Actually, this one really helps because the more we spend time on this, the more it becomes easier for me to, have everything set, and of course have easy time in creating everything.
Right. And then, once you get the base done, the map, again, we could continue doing this every day, every other day, whatever. Look at what we have, and go forward from there and make any changes and see which way. But I think it's easier this way than you doing it and then going back and making changes, corrections.
Yeah, actually causes a lot of frustrations and a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, makes it a lot easier. And then this way, it's like, oh my God, I thought of this or I didn't think of that. Or, there's just so much benefit. And more importantly, you don't spend all the time coding.
Yeah,
Like if you had done it and put all those, here's your alternate routes, like the paper suggested last night, I would have said, oh, hey, can you delete that? I'm sorry for you wasting your time, but I don't want to give turn by turn directions or alternate routes.
yeah,
At least not yet. If that comes to a point, that could be a whole different topic.
yeah,
But I don't want to compete with somebody who has way more money than I do.
yeah,
I'm looking to do an adjunct.
yeah,
Um, and then if there's anything else that you can think of, I am all open for suggestions. I think you have a good basis of where I want to go. And I'd like to put, like I said, hospitals, rest stops, fire stations. I don't know about because there would be a ton of fire stations, because there's thousands of them, I don't know how that would look. Right now, we have the list of Phoenix fire stations in the Cactus Alert application. but that's geared towards, watching the fires for firefighters, for people, who are into it.
Yeah.
In a way, I want to put all the fire stations on there so people can, if they have an emergency or need to stop someplace, if they need help, but they can also call 911, or, if nobody's at the fire station because they're out on a call, or if they're volunteer and they don't live there, well, then they're following my map to a non-manned fire station. So am I liable because they died because they didn't call 911 because they used my map to go to a fire station?
We can have disclaimers for that, but anyway, like we said, you do not want to have any liability in place in your app. So
Correct.
you
So
want
that's
to
why I
be
was thinking if I put hospitals up, at least, that might be different. And again, we can always revisit that. That should be an easy add.
yeah.
But as you're going through like the national maps that I gave you, you can default, you can put every government building in there. You can put every parcel. You can just put fire stations, hospitals, police stations. There is so much data in there. However, what I notice is it's not always 100% up to date. It takes time. There's a lag, and again, at this stage, do we want to go through that? I don't know. At a later stage, at a later update, probably. I mean, that's a good, thing to upgrade.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Oh, that if we want to add the hospitals or the fire stations, that should be an easy to put in down the line. We don't need to do it now. But with the national map, it's got everything in there.
Yeah,
So
that's
you can narrow down everything to parks, to whatever you wanted.
yeah. That
The
one
only
is
downfall about that is it's not 100% up to date. There's a lag.
yeah.
So if there's a fire station 4 miles from me that opened up in September and it's still not on that map.
Oh,
So whether the city didn't update it or the national map didn't update it, I have no idea what the lag time is.
do you usually have such kind of incidents, or this one is just about bad day in office?
I'm sorry?
Does it happen like I mean often, or is just a bad day in office for that particular office in the fire station? Why is it not
Not
happen?
at all, really. For this application, my I guess intention would be that if I'm driving and my passenger chokes and oh hey, where's the quickest place that I can get help? But again, a lot of fire stations, they're not manned, nobody's there, they'll be out on a call, so I would be looking more towards hospitals or stuff like that.
Okay,
So just something to make it more safety related.
okay. Because most cases either way, you don't need the fire stations, you need them to respond. So most cases you just need them to call. So
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
they'll have to figure
And
out
again,
the one that is closest to you. So if you as a victim or the person who is calling them, I don't think that you need to know their location or something.
right. So, so at this point, I don't think we need the fire station. We do not need the hospitals, but that national map there has items, because there's also like national parks and, stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get the base map down, then we can always, hey, what do we need? What don't we need?
Makes sense.
Again, my thought about Google and Apple is again, if you're driving from point A to point B, they're not going to alert you that there's a new accident. You're going to have to manually look at the application every time, and that takes your eyes off the road, and now you're playing with your phone.
Or even you have to look for the. I mean, you just have to figure out from your phone, maybe through guesses, why is it this particular route? I mean, in traffic or something. You have to find a way of you deciding or get knowing to figure out that something actually off.
Right.
I think you've discussed most of the things that are not clear. I can proceed with creating the user stories and then I can proceed with mapping out everything.
Right. Okay. Uh, all right. Anything else for me now that you have a much better idea? Now you can make a more of a better game plan.
I don't think there's what do you call it? There's anything that you need to do on your end. The ball is on my hand. I have now to restructure everything. Of course, get to prepare everything to reflect whatever that you have discussed today. And then
Right. Okay.
in terms of any other extra work being added, no problem. I can still handle everything that we have discussed. So actually,
Okay.
like I said, this is the hardest part, literally. When you get through it, when you get to, get to be on the same page, exactly this is what I want, this is what I expect the app to be doing, then you have to trust me that implementing it is the easiest way. In engineering, the hardest part is understanding the user and getting to be in the user's shoes. Because again, if you want to, create something that will really create an impact or something that will really create a value, then you have to do it from the user's perspective, not from your own perspective, you as the developer,
Right.
because you'll be solving your own problem other than solving the intended user's problem. So you have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out or trying to, get the picture from the user's perspective, which is very hard. Understanding humans is very hard, especially
Right.
such kind of,
Um.
life-threatening situations whereby you have to, literally, I'm giving you the information that you really need, but people still don't appreciate that, or even you have to just find
Right.
a way of getting to push yourself into that
Right.
particular user. So for you to do that, you have to understand them. You have to be in their shoes. You have to understand the picture from their own perspective.
Right. And then with the, the cookies and stuff like that, want to, I want the performance cookies because we need to see where people are using the application, so we can make uh, updates as needed. I
Yeah, yeah,
believe here in the United States, we do not need to offer them to opt out of them because I know I opt out of them all the time, but they're really helpful to developers.
yeah,
Again, we're not collecting any personal information. We're looking at how the app is behaving and stuff like that.
yeah. We can have some custom JavaScript. We can have, I mean, some custom functions that help us track these user experiences on the app, and of course, we
Right.
can be doing so with consent, because we do not want to be landing ourselves in trouble when collecting information that user is not aware of. So we can have that
Right. But I have seen
policy.
like applications pop-ups that come up and says, we do collect this information and there is no opt-out option for you. Again, I don't want to keep their personal information or anything. What I'm concerned about is let's say if 30% of my users are using Flagstaff all the time or Las Vegas, for example. Well, then we need to know that, hey, we need to look into other APIs and other things that would help out those users.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can have a way of tracking that without actually getting to store, even interact with any personal information that can get to expose our application in the bad way, or even, I mean, put the application in a bad picture of mining and collecting personal information. So we can have it in a way that
Right.
doesn't really at any point
And then the other thing is
expose
to
it.
consider is, do we use the revenue cat and do a web subscription as well? So those are all thoughts to come up too. Again, Apple charges and Google charges 15 or 30%. But if I could do it through Stripe for 3%, That's quite a bit of money.
It is. But
I have seen applications that will say it's if you subscribe, you can subscribe to either platform. They have a button for both, and then it'll be different prices. So for Apple, it would be $110. If you go through the website, it's only $100 to cover up the cost of the commission. Does that make sense?
it does.
So again, pros versus cons versus cost. I'm assuming Apple is going to end up getting some sort of fee because right now, if everybody does everything through web-based subscriptions, they're not making any money for hosting the app, for doing anything. They're not getting any revenue. So I'm sure they're eventually going to put a fee on it. You know what I mean? So if I say, hey, I don't want to use the App Store for payment, I just want to use the website, they're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
making any money.
yeah, yeah.
So again, risk versus reward. If we do them both, but if we do the revenue cat, then we have to do subscriptions, so that's something that I need your recommendation on all the way around too. Because if you're going to build it, you build it right from the beginning. And I'd rather, when you do the billing, I'd rather have you if we're going to do both rather than do one and then go back and add the other.
Yeah.
But again, everything will have to be on the server end that would store all their personal information, their password. We'd have to set it up that each subscription only has one device or offer multiple devices. And then we'll get across that bridge when we get there. But I'm just trying to think, ahead logically. Because with this Cactus Alert app, I learned a lot. I didn't realize, that their commission was so much. I didn't, otherwise I would have had revenue cap built into that in the beginning. But I don't want to spend another $400 to integrate revenue cap for when this project that you and I are working on is going to be the bread and butter.
Yeah.
I don't know if $400 is worth doing the web subscriptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I only have 50 or 200 users for Cactus Alert. The cost versus if I'm getting 5 or 10,000 subscribers here on this new app we're building, yes, then it's worth it because even if 30% use the web rather than iPhone, well, it's, again, we're making our money up.
We'll just get to figure out the one that actually favors us.
But just figure, give you just, where my mind is, where my thoughts are as they run all over the place. Do I do A or B or a combination or, because like I said, I don't want you to code something and then be like, well, should we do that or shouldn't we do that? Just like if you coded everything like you did like you wrote last night, we would have to do a lot of changes
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And then I'm going to also play around with this SDR trunk in ProScan to see how I can get to listen to it again. Because right now I'm really not having much luck, but I'll get to that here later.
Okay. Did you try
Okay,
to
just let me know what you need from me, whatever I can do.
did you try to play it on Mac?
Um, see. So no. So let's see. If I go into
Does even let me see. Does Pro Mac run on Mac?
So it won't connect to the website. And then if I go over, come on. Oh, I want to go over. So I get that error, the 1003.
Can you try it on a
And
different
then
browser?
why can't I get it over to my other pages? I'll remove that one. So this is where it was. I had to connect to the home computer, and that one won't load up too. But if I go to on my phone, if I go to RDIO scanner, let's see. Okay, it does not let me log into PHX SDR. And then it will let me log into the HTTP, not S, just the P, 192.168.12.37:3000. So on my phone, I can enter this website. But here, I don't know why it's not.
Because on my hand,
I don't know why it's not connected on my Mac, but I don't really use this on my Mac. So what I'm recording here is only the Phoenix. So something's broken in this link.
yeah, something is
But you should
broken.
be able. Were you able to pull it up on phxsdr.com?
I'll fix it in a few. Don't worry. Yeah. I'm not sure it keeps on breaking. Is it because of the radius scanner that I put in? Because I'd earlier put I'd earlier had the one that I was running OPS 25 before I changed back to the one that was running on the SDR.
Okay, but you could work on that one in the spare time because this is more important. And then I'm going to try to connect ProScan the server to see if I can log in on my phone, and try to do things that way.
Did I connect back to correct that error on the left side, on the left domain?
The website should be sent to the SDR trunk, the dongles. Because what I like about that is I can monitor. Let's see, do I have RDO scanner in here? No, I do not. Oh, there it is. So if I go to my search call, because I'm using the dongles, it's receiving channel 7, channel 1. I'm recording all these channels at the same time. With the ProScan, with the scanner, it will only let me record one channel at a time. Because I'm still having trouble with the dongles. They still get scratchy. I had to disable and then enable and do all that again.
Yeah, those things actually they need you when having the dongles are turned. Way to play around and get to see what is actually wrong with them.
With the dongles?
Yeah. And also on the
I don't
settings,
know. Because see if I go into, so I'm still getting a fade, but I'm still locked on. So channel 7, then 1, but I'm still getting fade. If I stop Phoenix and I take it off number 7, I'm going to disable 7. And if I hit play, sometimes it picks up on a different one, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not. So right now, I'm not getting anything, but I noticed I'm getting more fade than I am. So here's active and it's going right to fade. So it's not recording anything, it's not listening to anything. So then if I go back into stop the playlist, let's just disable that one and see what happens. Then it won't catch on, even though it says it's locked, but tuner 5 will not lock. So disabled that one. And now we're left with tuner number 6. So if I go to play, it doesn't pick up tuner 6, although it says locked, but it's not picking up the control channel. So then let me go back and put on tuner numbers 1, 5, and 7. Put them all on. Let's go back to Phoenix and play. So it went to 101 and it'll drop. See how it's dropping from control channel and then nothing, no recordings. So I know that we had it on 7 before, even though it's clear as mud, it's extremely scratchy. At least it's recording something. So now we can hear voice again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up my Mac with the other 4 dongles. I'm gonna do it in the other room. And then we can go from there because then I could figure out, is it a Windows issue or is it a dongles issue? Because if I can get this 4 of them to work on my Mac computer without having fade, without dropping them, well, then it's definitely a Windows issue. Does that make sense? Are you there? Can you hear me now? Almost. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I don't. Sorry, I don't know
Oh,
exactly what made me, what get me lost.
me neither. I backed out. I tried opening up the application again. I was just sending you a message on a WhatsApp.
Yeah, sorry for that. I think
So
it was my network
that's
actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Did you see the issues that I was having with the dongles? Did you hear any of that? So essentially, what I did is because the recordings are so scratchy and they don't come in clear, it will only tune to channel 7.
Okay.
If I turn off this dongle,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to disable it and then go back to Phoenix and play. So it'll lock, but I don't get recordings any longer. It goes right to fade. There's no recordings, no speakers, no nothing. So that is on tuner number 1 and 2. So right now I'm getting no sound when I should. And see how it goes back to idle? So it's just not locking.
You try to restart
If
the SDR one.
Yep, yep, does that every single time. I'll go ahead to do that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Mac computer. Okay, and then that goes to tuner 1. And it drops to idle, and I should be getting some sound right here. There should be two audio, but nothing is coming across. So if I turn off Phoenix, I'll go ahead to disable. I'll go ahead and enable this one, which was 7. Now when I hit play, it'll record, but it's not clear. It's not 100%. Oh, let's go here. Preferred tuner. Hey, where's 7? Okay, log on to 101. It's not even showing 7 here. So if I set it to tuner 5, it shows locked here, but it doesn't capture. And that's the same thing with 6. Okay, I'm going to put this on tuner 7 because that's generally, we know we hit on that, just that they're not 100% clear. And now I have voice. But if I locked it onto the other 3, I don't get voice and it doesn't lock on. So I'm going to take my Mac computer, connect my other 4 dongles to that, and then I can transfer the dongles back and forth and we can narrow it down. Is it the dongle itself or is it Windows? Does
I'm
that make
feeling
sense?
there might be the issue about the dongles. It might be the dongles.
Right. And that's why I've got a total of 12 of them. So if I can get at least 4 to work,
Yeah.
there's absolutely no way 10 out of 12 of them are bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'll go ahead and work on that there. And then, of course, you let me know whatever you need for the application or for anything else.
Okay. The other thing I
And then
see. Sorry.
I'll continue working on the name as well.
Okay. Okay, that will be great. The other thing I see, you didn't set it up on Upwork. You still got busy today.
One more time.
I'm saying sorry. You didn't set it up on Upwork. You still got busy today.
Yeah, I mean, you see, I didn't set anything up. I didn't have anything, but you see that the signals are coming in, except for that feed is coming in too much. But
Okay.
But I'll connect them. I'll connect them over to my Mac because, like I said, this was working fine on my Windows. Then one day it just stopped. So I don't know if it's a driver issue, an update issue, or what. But I'll play around with that on my Mac. So this way, I don't have to mess with any of the settings that you did already.
Okay. The other thing, did you get some time to set up the Upwork contract?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. That's on my list of things. I
Because
just
I'm
figured
actually
I'd touch
thinking,
base with you first so we could explain.
I'm actually thinking, today is on Christmas, actually on Christmas here.
You want me to wait till tomorrow?
I'm saying it's actually on Christmas here, and I really have something that was pressing me. So I was thinking, is it possible you process me like $200 and then you can process it later, even if it's on next week on the contract thing?
So you want me to pay you 200? You want me to give you $200 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
So there's a way that you can actually pay with your credit card. There's app that's called there's Western Union. You can also use what we call it. Is
Well, I have to keep everything through Upwork because I need to print out these receipts to
Yeah.
prove that the credit card and these payments are for the business.
You see now the issues with Upwork will actually take 5 days to get to my hand. When you process it today, got it actually get to me on days on 29.
Okay. All right. Let me see how I can do that because if I don't go through a so on my credit card statement, it needs to say like Upwork. It needs to say a business name. It needs to say something.
I can generate you a receipt.
Be-
Is it possible? I can give you an invoice for you to pay against it.
yeah, I could check with that because when I do my taxes, they're going to pull to make sure that you have a tax account number, to make sure that it's a legit business. But let me talk to my accountant. Let me send them a test message before it gets too late to see how we could do that.
Okay.
Because I'll have no problems, just getting on to Upwork. I don't know why I thought that you guys got it right away because I always get messages say as soon as I release it saying you've received the
Not
money.
really. It takes 5 days. It takes 5 days actually. So when you release it today, you should get
Okay,
it on date 29.
okay, okay. Let me work something out. Let me see what I can do to get you some money, but yet to protect this end of it as well.
Okay. Let
Because
me.
since I'm using business funds out of a business account,
Yeah.
everything's got to stay to the business.
Yeah.
So this way, when I do my
I I
taxes,
I I can
everything's right off.
you can give me your business details. That's including the identification number, and then I can prepare an invoice because, like, I've been working with the Europe clients. I usually prepare them an invoice, and then I invoice them. I actually send them to their accounts office, and they get just settled with them just fine without any issues at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Like I said, I'm new to all this. And the other biggest thing is that comes into this is I need to be very, very careful because I receive government assistance because I am disabled. So I
Okay.
don't work. They help me pay my rent and my salary. So if I do anything incorrectly, they pay my health benefits. So they can take all that away.
Oh, I
So
see.
it's a little bit different than everybody else. So
I
all
see.
this money that I'm giving you for everything is set up out of my business account. It does not tie me to the business necessarily. So
Okay.
all I got to do is just make sure that that's clear to keep my name out of it, and I'll have no problem.
Okay.
You've been doing a lot of work, so I have absolutely no problem in that. I
Okay.
thought that you received the payment like instantaneously because if I'm funding it,
No.
Upwork already has my money.
They,
If I sign off on the contract and say release it, it should be released to you right away. And I remember saying your developer just received X amount of dollars.
Ah, not really. They usually keep it in
No.
an escrow because sometimes I'm sure maybe they get to spend the amount or something. I'm not sure exactly sure why they keep that long. And then when they start releasing it to
Okay.
you, they give you a very quite unfair rates. So just a
Okay.
monopoly or something that they've been doing for some time. But there's nothing
Okay.
that you can do about it.
All right. Okay. Let me go ahead and see what I can do and get that over to you.
Okay. I'll also send you a sample invoice that you can also attach them to your
Okay.
messages so that you can be
Yeah,
able to
like I said, because I just need to have it that if I get audited, which chances are I will, because with this application, I'm trying to come off a disability.
yeah.
So I don't have to take the government's money and then I can spend my money and do things as freely as I want to.
Yeah.
But if I do it too early and they catch on, they're going to say, oh, wait, what's going on over here?
Yeah.
And I don't want to fall into that.
Yeah. I understand.
Because I ended up having 3 back surgeries and they want to do another back surgery. So, I'm very cautious about because I don't want to get caught up in the bureaucracy and all the BS of it.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Okay,
so let me send a
that
message
that
to
was
my
a
text account. Let me make sure everything's all set up, and I'll try to get you something.
okay. Let me proceed in this, and you let me know. I'll actually send you the invoice
Oh,
over the
okay.
message. Okay. Bye bye.
Okay, and then send me the invoice as well, a copy of the invoice, just so I can go ahead to send it to my tax accountant and make sure that that's okay. Because I don't know how it works being out of the country. You don't have a tax ID. You know what, for the United States. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, but I do have my own tax country ID.
Oh, you do have a tax ID for the
Yeah.
United States, or
No, for my country. I can also
okay, yeah. I don't know how that works. I
I
would
also
imagine I should be able to use that.
okay. I also have a friend in
But
what do you call it? Uh, Georgia. We can still use his details if you want, just in case of anything. But you let
okay,
me know.
okay, I'll go ahead and work on that as well.
But is it possible? By the way, is it possible you just send me the tax details so that when I'm preparing the invoice, I can include them, and then when you're sending the message, you can include the invoice for them to I mean, approve or even disapprove. That's okay.
Okay, so
It's just something that I'm generating for you to get a go ahead from them. Or
uh,
should I just send you a sample invoice, whichever works.
the address.